All right, today we're jumping into one of the most important questions in all of AI. It's a question that gets right to the heart of safety, risk, and who's responsible when things go wrong.
Look, before we get lost in all the talk about rules and complicated policies, we've got to nail down the most basic question of all. When an AI does something, who's actually pulling the strings? And maybe even more important, if things go sideways, how can you prove it? This, right here, is where any real conversation about AI governance has to start. And this leads to a really important point. Most AI failures, the big ones, they don't happen because of some evil genius trying to cause chaos. Nope. They happen because things are fuzzy, because nobody was totally clear on who was in charge of the AI's behavior. And when accountability becomes invisible, that's when you get into real trouble.
Okay, so let's pull back the curtain and see who's really running the show. It's time to bust one of the biggest myths in all of AI governance.
You know, most people think the company that built the AI, the vendor, is the one in control. Makes sense, right? But that's not actually how it works in the real world. The real power, the real control, is with the operator. We're talking about the person or the team who's actually on the ground, setting it up and using it every single day.
So who is this operator? This isn't just some vague title. It's a real person. It might be the developer writing this system prompt that gives the AI its mission, or it could be the marketing person tweaking the settings on a new tool. It could even be the team that gives the thumbs up on an AI's output, letting it trigger something in the real world. They are the ones calling the shots moment to moment.
All right, so now we know who is in control. The big question is, how do you build a system around them that's not just strong, but defensible? A system that can stand up to scrutiny. Well, it turns out it all boils down to three core pillars.
First up, you need crystal clear control. Who exactly gets to decide how the AI behaves? Second, you need accountability. Who's on the hook for the outcome? And third, and this one is huge, you need reproducibility. That's your ability to prove step by step exactly what happened. If you're missing even one of these, your whole governance system is basically a house of cards.
And accountability isn't just one person's problem, right? It's spread out. You've got the board setting the big picture policy, you have regulators laying down the law, and then way down at the ground level, you have the operators and developers leaving this breadcrumb trail of evidence. Things like prompts, configs, change logs. Every single stakeholder leaves a footprint.
Okay, let's zoom in on that third pillar, reproducibility, because honestly, this is where most systems just fall apart. This is not some techie nice to have, it is the ultimate stress test for your entire governance framework.
Now, there's a super important detail here. Reproducibility does not mean getting a creative AI to say the exact same thing twice. That's pretty much impossible. What it does mean is that you can recreate the conditions that produced an output. We're talking the specific prompt, the settings, the data, the model version, everything. See, an audit isn't about the AI's creativity. It's about your process.
And this quote just nails it. If you're ever in the hot seat, with a regulator, in a lawsuit, whatever, and you can't show the exact state of the AI when something happened, you've got nothing. You have no defense. It is that simple.
So how do we actually do this? How do we build a system that can perfectly remember what it was doing? The answer is creating an unerasable record. Think of it like a memory bank for your entire system.
And you have to get into this mindset. For an auditor, if something wasn't recorded, it didn't happen, period. An unlogged decision, a change that wasn't tracked, it's like it never existed. Your records are your reality.
So what exactly goes into this state snapshot? Well, for every major AI action, you need at least these four things: the exact model and its version, the entire prompt or configuration, the data source it used, and a precise timestamp. Think of it like the DNA of that decision.
Okay, this all sounds good in theory, right? But let's put it to the test. Let's walk through a simple, real-world example to see how these pillars actually work.
Okay, picture this. A marketing team gets a shiny new AI tool to write product descriptions. Awesome. They set it up so the output goes straight to the company website. No human check. Then, a complaint comes in. One of the AI's descriptions is making a totally misleading claim about a product.
All right, time to apply our first pillar. Who controlled the AI's behavior here? Your first instinct might be to say the company that made the tool, right?
But nope, the vendor just supplied the tool. It was the organization, specifically the marketing team, our operator, that controlled the outcome. They're the ones who configured it, who set the rules, and who made the call to let it publish automatically. They were the driver's seat.
Okay, now for the big test. A regulator calls. They want to know exactly how this bogus claim got onto your website. What do you need to show them?
To have any chance of defending your process, you would need to pull up that state snapshot. It would need to show the exact prompt they used, every single configuration setting, any other info it was giving, and, this is the big one, the record of the decision to let it post without a human review. Without that log, you can't prove a thing.
So here's the bottom line: control, accountability, and reproducibility. These are not just some abstract ideas from a textbook. They are the absolute bedrock of any defensible AI system. Doesn't matter if you're defending it to your boss, a customer, or a regulator. If you don't have these three things locked down, no amount of fancy policy documents is going to help.
And that leaves us with one final question for you. Think about the systems you're working with right now. If one of your AIs made a really bad mistake 6 months ago, could you prove exactly how it happened, without a shadow of a doubt? If the answer is no, or even I'm not sure, well, now you know where you need to start.